Good morning everyone, and welcome to today's video. I've had a lot of people ask me questions, especially new viewers. Why do you have a bucket in your kitchen and a hole in the ground? What are you doing with that water? Talk about waste management when you don't have any plumbing, and why some of this information even you as a homeowner can find useful in a grid down. Hi everybody, and welcome back. We are going to talk about all aspects of having lack of water and having lack of plumbing. Now I want to give you a little disclaimer. I'm going to talk about everything other than human compost. Where I live, I can't have human compost, and I don't think I'm quite ready for all of that. But I can talk to you about gray water, how you can handle your gray water, how can you survive without running water. I have a lot of knowledge in that because I lived for it for about 14 years. And what I'm going to show you today is practical ways that you can live almost everyday life without plumbing. Now, if you're on your own sewer system, you don't need electricity to run your toilet, but you do need electricity for lots of things, like to get water. But let me tell you what, if you have your own sewer system, you can fill your toilet with its own water and you can flush it without electricity. That's a good thing. Now, some of you who say, well, you live in an apartment or you live in a condominium or you do all of these things, this information may not be as useful as the average homeowner, someone who has maybe a little bit of ground, but they have their own home and their own septic and sewer systems. Now, if you are on a city sewer, you can still do a lot of these things about obtaining your own water. That's something very important. You can obtain your very own water. You don't have to pay for it. I have my rain barrel. Now, I know in some areas, rain barrel is actually considered illegal, but there are stealth ways that you can still get your own water even if you can't have a rain barrel. Just go ahead, have a bucket outside and collect your own water, or take off a little bit of your spouting and put a bucket underneath it. Nobody will ever know. And then you can have your own water. You can use that for all kinds of things. Today I'm going to wash the dishes. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I gather water without any electricity. Today's video is using no electricity whatsoever and the things that you can do. So let's get started. Because it's winter time, I have my own very own hot water from the wood stove. I'm going to go ahead and wash my dishes using this hot water, and then we're going to go and collect new water to put on the stove to heat it up all afternoon. So what I do is wash my dishes. I have my bucket right here, and this will save all this water from going in the septic system. Now I have my own very own dish soap. I put it in this bottle to make it, easier to use. All right, so now we're going to go out to the rain barrel and fill up our water. Now, I would not suggest that you drink this water. One, you probably should treat it with something, and two, you probably should be boiling it first. But it's great for dishes because we're gonna get it really good and hot. This water is just as clean and just as clear as the water in our well. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put this on the stove so we can heat up, get it really nice and hot. We can use this to bathe if you want to do a hand washing bathing. It's really simple and easy to do. Or you can use this for laundry. You can use this water for just every day other than cooking. I wouldn't use this water for cooking, but it's great for cleaning and washing those dishes. All right, so let's go put this on the stove, and then I'm going to show you what do you do with the old water that's gray water, and how do you handle that? So now we have this bucket of water. What do we do with it? Number one thing you don't want to do is just dump it on the ground, because if you have food particles in here, well, it wouldn't be so good. Two, you don't want to dump it in the ground where it's not going to penetrate the ground. You don't want to have any pooling of any water. Because I washed dishes that had some meat in it, I'm going to go ahead and put this in our second septic system. Let me show you that. Now in the summertime, I like to use water to water my plants outside. Not if I have meat or anything like that in it. So if I'm just washing up things that aren't terribly dirty when it comes to food particles, I will go ahead in the summertime, I will water my plants. In the Great Depression, people did this all the time. And in the summertime, the ground is usually very easy to absorb all of the water because it's very hot and humid. In the wintertime, you don't want to be dumping all of your water just on the ground. So we have a hole in the ground. It's no different than a septic system. Do you know what a septic system drain field is? That's water that's pipes that's way deep in the ground. It doesn't frost, it doesn't freeze, and all of your wastewater goes through there. The ground absorbs it, and what happens? It neutralizes it. The ground neutralizes the water, and it turns back into clear water in the water table. Now, I don't use Clorox in my dishwater. I don't use anything caustic. I don't use anything that would be considered of a chemical. I don't use borax either. I use homemade laundry soap that's just fat and it's lye. And I also use organic ingredients like essential oils. So what I do is, now I'm going to go ahead and dump this water in here. And just for sanitary reasons, we put a lid on it. That way, no animals could fall in there and drown. But this is how it works. In about an hour, this will all be way deep into the ground. And now, I just saved how many gallons of... I just saved 6 gallons of water from the septic system, which doesn't need to be there. Now, what else can we do? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wash this bucket, put it back in the kitchen, and that way it's all ready for the next time I need it. All right, I bet you're wondering, okay, well, it's winter time, Tessie. How do you have a rain barrel in the winter? So the winter time, it's a little bit harder to use this system, but I can use my rain barrel for the whole month of October, November, and December. January is a little iffy, and February could be a little iffy too. And then March, I can use it again. What I like to do is I keep the rain barrel out, but when it gets to the point where it's in the 20s, and I know it's going to be that way very long, I will drain the water barrel or only have it half full. If I had it totally full and it would have a hard freeze, it could split the barrel. And at $109 these barrels are now, I go ahead and I make sure I don't split it. These water barrels were only $60 when I bought them 14 years ago. All right, I'm gonna wash this out quick, and that way we can work on other ideas about living without plumbing. In society, few systems are taken more for granted than plumbing. Toilets flush, wastewater drains, and everything disappears out of sight. But off-grid living, like that practiced in the Amish communities, requires a different mindset. Without reliance on municipal sewage and septic systems, waste becomes something that must be managed intentionally, safely, and sustainably. The Amish have handled human and household waste without indoor plumbing for generations. Their systems are low-tech, practical, and designed to work year after year with minimal upkeep. And then they go on to talk about composting toilets. But let's talk a little bit more about ways to reduce waste. The kitchen waste and food scraps. The less we waste of the food, the less the food is in our water, and the less hard it is to get rid of that water. So in other words, if we clean our plates, we eat our food, we don't have food waste, then we don't have to worry about particles of food in our water. For me, I take food scraps and I dump it in the garden. We like to wash our hands using a basin and using a pitcher like you would see in the 1800s. By washing our hands that way, we reduce the amount of water. One of the things that is a pet peeve of mine is when I see people turning the sink on and just letting it run and run and run. It's such a waste of water. And water is a resource that is something that we really need to practice more sustainability with, and not always just assume that when you turn that tap on, you'll have as much water as you absolutely can use. People that live in the South know firsthand what it's like to live in severe droughts. And I talked about using the gray water, putting it back into the ground, or watering our plants with that. Let me show you a little bit about the difference between my soap and maybe the soap you would buy in the store. Last year, I made enough for about 2 years of homemade soap. This is lye soap, and I did a video on it. Now, of course, I made it really cute with the gingerbread men, but it smells like all natural, homemade lye soap. And soap that you buy in the store has lye in it as well. Lye is something not to be afraid about. It's just something you need to know the chemistry of working with lye. Lye is a natural compound from wood ash. It smells amazing. And I use this, I shred it up and use it in my laundry, along with a little bit of soap. I use this on my body, and I use this for dish soap. I take one of these and about 2 gallons of boiling water, and I just go ahead and melt it. And this is my soap. It smells amazing because it's all natural. I will use a little bit of essential oils in it, but this breaks down into the garden, breaks down into the soil really well. If I lay one of these out, after about 2 months, it would disintegrate, and there's nothing that it won't kill the grass because there's nothing caustic in it. There's nothing harmful in it. Now, borax, a lot of people do use borax. I don't, because it's just a chemical I don't need, but a lot of people do use borax, and that's up to you whether you want to use that or not. For me, I'd rather just make it simple. Now, maybe the book says it's forgotten Amish secrets, but for a lot of us who are partly off-grid, it's everyday life. Just like having the oil lanterns. It's part of our everyday life. It's something that has become a part of what we do every single day. I hope you enjoyed this video. We are going to have a lot of how-to, or how does she do that, videos on real nitty-gritty, partly off-grid life, and I guess what you could say, the forgotten skills of the Amish. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you guys on the next one. If you're interested in this book, that the idea came from this book about sharing with all of you what I do on a day-to-day basis, I'll give you a link in the description box, because I know a lot of you are avid readers like I am, and I love reading books that actually can teach us something. I also want to give a special thank you to a viewer who sent me a case of the Murphy's oil soap and some of my lemon oil. She saw in a recent video that I like using this. This product here is 99% naturally derived, and it is biodegradable cleaning agent. So if you use this in your cleaning in your bucket of water, it's not going to hurt your environment. It's absolutely amazing. And I want to thank the viewer who wanted to keep anonymous for sending it for me, because I love things like this. Oh, and since 1910. And things like this you can use that you know that it won't harm your septic, or it won't harm even if you're partly off-grid like me.